Hey everybody, how's it going? Today, I'm proud to present to you an in-depth, detailed look at the 2012 Lexus LFA Nürburgring Edition. And this is going to be a detailed, educational presentation on the LFA. We'll start right up, show the engine, get an exhaust clip, and go over the performance data, as well as show you a bunch of the unique features of the interior as well as exterior. And a big thanks and special shout out go out to RK Motors of Charlotte, North Carolina for allowing me to come down today and film this beautiful LFA. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and start her up, let her run. The exterior color is known as whitest white, with a full red and black Alcantara interior, also featuring leather accenting with carbon fiber. The LFA comes with a 6-speed automatic sequential manual gearbox routed through the aluminum paddle shifters mounted on the back of the steering wheel. The unique thing about the paddle shift system on the LFA is, well, first of all, it's got a leather insert across the back here, so it's nice and soft when you go to grab it, but it takes a lot less force to upshift than it does to downshift. It actually gives unequal feedback on each side to feel like the driver's a little bit more in control of the vehicle, so to speak, and increasing their overall pleasure and satisfaction while going around a track. Not to mention a rear backup camera once you put the car in reverse. The gauge system of the LFA is probably one of the most unique aspects of the interior. It features a thin film transistor liquid crystal display with full digital analog gauges, with a beautiful metal accent ring going around the edges, giving a nice three-dimensional effect. And, just diverging from that just a second, there's 4 different driver selectable performance and suspension settings: wet, normal, sport, and automatic. Now we're in normal now. You just twist the wheel down to go down to wet, and it shows up on the speedometer cluster. And then if we flip it up to sport, it'll actually change the entire look. Beautiful white display versus the black, and actually angling the RPMs a little bit higher. The vehicle's engine, with all of its engine management, tuning, and special build qualities, which we'll talk about all of that during this engine portion, is actually one of the reasons why Lexus chose to use an LCD speedometer cluster. Now, the engine revs from 0 to its red line of 9,000 RPM in just 2/3 of a second, which is incredible. A typical analog gauge can't keep up, therefore, to pretty much essentially get rid of the inertia, the force that it takes to actually move a needle, you actually needed to have something with zero inertia or electronic to be able to keep up with the fast RPMs. And so, we'll go ahead and cut on the headlamps, as well as the hazards. Naturally, both the windows are fully automatic. And we're going to check out the exterior, shall we? The Lexus LFA is an absolute technological and engineering masterpiece, featuring some of the most cutting-edge technology and impressive attention to detail that you'll find in today's supercar market. Developed under the codename P280, the LFA project began in early 2000 where Lexus decided for the first time since their introduction in 1989 to break from its norm of purist luxury automobiles by building their own limited-run production supercar. It was 9 years later that they introduced the stunning LFA Coupe. With a base price of $375,000 and only 500 hand-built examples to be produced, it's by far one of the most impressive and exclusive cars to come out of Japan. Now if we just fast forward a couple years to 2012, we see the introduction of the Nürburgring edition, a 50 limited production run that's included in that original 500 LFAs to be produced. That's actually a circuit tuned variant of the quote-unquote base model LFA with a price tag starting around $445,000. And while LFAs in general are pretty customizable as far as suiting buyers' tastes, Lexus limited the Nürburgring edition colors to only 4 choices, being matte black, gloss black, white, and orange. The body is mostly composed of a high-strength, low-weight material known as carbon fiber reinforced plastic. This also allows an ease of creating unique shapes, curves, and angles that would not have been possible with a traditional aluminum skin. Everything about the LFA's body was essentially developed for a purpose, either to increase downforce, channel air, or maximize cooling. Up front, the small gap in the hood that you see actually forces air into the engine bay, while larger gaps in the lower front fascia actually help channel air to cool the massive carbon ceramic brakes. Even the mirrors were sculpted in a way to channel the air into the inlets above the wheels that feed large twin rear-mounted radiators for better cooling. For the Nürburgring, the biggest difference in the styling is the large fixed carbon fiber reinforced wing replacing the electronically actuated wing in the standard LFA. It also features exclusive front dive planes and a deeper carbon fiber front spoiler, not to mention a slight bump in horsepower, lighter forged wheels, and a more pronounced carbon fiber side skirt for better channel air into the rear inlet on the side to help cool the rear brakes. Through its 9 years of development in the mid-2000s, it actually inspired a new design philosophy for Lexus known as L Finesse. That phrase consisted of 3 Japanese characters which translated into intriguing elegance, incisive simplicity, and seamless application. Basically what that means is it included a fastback profile, a lower set grille, and the use of convex and concave surfaces. As far as the wheels on the LFA, it features 20-inch forged aluminum BBS alloy wheels wrapped in asymmetric Bridgestone Potenza tires measuring around 265/35 up front and 305/30 in the rear. The LFA is also a pretty balanced vehicle. Overall weight distribution is around 48% in the front and 52% in the rear. You'll also notice the red accented brake calipers positioned towards the center of the vehicle, creating that more of a balanced effect. Features 4-wheel 2-piece floating carbon ceramic disc brakes with 15.4-inch rotors and 6-piston calipers up front, with 14.2-inch rotors and 4-piston calipers in the rear, bringing the car down from 60 to 0 in an almost surreal 94 feet. Just absolutely amazing stopping power. As far as the suspension goes, the LFA rides on a unique double wishbone front suspension and multi-link setup out back, all housed in a carbon fiber reinforced polymer monocoque with aluminum front and rear subframes. Across the chiseled rear end of the LFA, you feature blacked out grille surrounds around the twin radiators out back, as well as full LED tail lamps, your little backup camera and third brake light located right above the Lexus emblem, as well as those beautiful 3 polished exhaust tips housed in a high gloss black setting that houses the carbon fiber rear diffuser. And also pair all of that with the addition of bespoke remote reservoir monotube shocks that Lexus took from the race spec LFA. All of that put together allows for an amazingly sharp handling vehicle with quick maneuverability, as well as the efficiency of having a lightweight structure underneath. Now I'll elaborate a little bit more in just a second on that beautiful melodic exhaust note, but out back you have a large carbon fiber rear diffuser, as well as a completely flat underside for increased downforce, letting the vehicle slip through the wind just a little bit easier. The LFA is around 177.4 inches long with a height of 48 inches and a width of 74.6 inches. Total curb weight is around 3,263 pounds. While there are many things to talk about with the LFA, the last big thing I want to touch on is the exhaust system, which has been acoustically tuned in collaboration with the music division of Yamaha to deliver a unique Formula One inspired sound. The essential component to this is known as the surge tank, the horizontally split intake that sits directly on the engine. The internals have actually been designed to produce a powerful induction sound yet tuned like a precise musical instrument to achieve optimal acoustics. That sound is then fed through a tuned large diameter equal length exhaust manifold system that runs through a titanium dual stage rear silencer. That rear silencer incorporates little butterfly valves that will actually open up around 3,000 RPM to allow the full sound to come out versus a more subdued, civilized tone. The best part about all of this is also the engine's induction and exhaust sounds are actually carefully channeled into the LFA's cabin. The main channel runs from the surge tank into the cabin through the main dash panel, as well as complemented by two further channels, one at the upper cowl opening and one at the lower reflector. The sound produced is like an amazing engine symphony that you can really only truly appreciate if you ever have the chance of hearing one in person. Pop the hood. The power plant of the LFA consists of a hand-built 72-degree 4.8-liter V10, an engine the size of a V8 that essentially weighs as much as a V6. It puts out around 552 horsepower, or about 562 in the Nürburgring edition, at 8750 RPM, and 354 pound-feet of torque at 6800 RPM. It consists of 40 valves of variable valve time with an impressive 0 to 60 time of around 3.6 seconds, quarter mile time of 11.4 seconds, and a top speed of around 202 miles per hour. Think of the construction of the engine as essentially two 5-cylinder engines put together. Each row of cylinders receives its own airflow path as well as its own mass airflow sensor and airbox. The plenum box is divided internally and sits on top of 10 independent throttle bodies, with fuel being delivered by traditional port injection. Basically, in keeping the weight of the engine down as well as allowing it to sustain its amazing 9,000 RPM redline, Lexus engineers designed the internals to be strong yet lightweight by using forged aluminum pistons, forged titanium connecting rods, and solid titanium valves. Dry sump lubrication was chosen to ensure the hand-built engine stays lubricated through the high-speed corners, and to actually keep the center of gravity low, the oil and water pumps are mounted low into the rear of the engine, while the engine is connected to the transaxle by a massive torque tube. The exhaust system then runs underneath this piece to allow a narrow central tunnel that not only dissipates heat quickly but allows the engineers to place the occupants lower and closer to the center of the vehicle. And along with its high compression ratio of around 12:1, the LFA's V10 is actually capable of revving from standstill to its 9,000 RPM redline in an amazingly quick 0.6 seconds. Fuel economy, with a 19.3 gallon fuel tank on premium unleaded gas, is around 11 city, 16 highway. You'll also notice in the fuel cap there that your windshield washer reservoir is also located in the same spot. You can really truly appreciate the heavy amount of carbon fiber used in the construction of the LFA when you check out the engine bay if you hadn't noticed it already. The entire hood as well as many of the support parts of the engine, including the hood prop rod, are entirely made of carbon fiber. Some of the lower underbody panels cradling the engine is also made of carbon fiber, although not in a high gloss fashion. Upon depressing the recessed door handles to the LFA reveals a bold, low-slung cockpit that not only is designed utilizing some of the finest materials for comfort, styling, and impressive build quality, but it's also engineered specifically for a balanced, lower center of gravity vehicle, thus enhancing the overall driver experience. The interior of the LFA is absolutely beautiful in the fact that it has amazing attention to detail, build quality, and overall customizability for the buyer. Essentially everything from the color to the material to the different shades of aluminum can be customized specifically to a buyer's taste, creating quite a unique vehicle and oftentimes a one-of-one creation. The LFA's seats are orthopedically designed with a split rear backrest and heavy amounts of side bolstering for superb supercar comfort. The seats are actually positioned at the center of the vehicle's wheelbase and laterally as close to the car's center as possible, trying to keep up with that overall well-balanced feel of the interior of the LFA. Your power adjustments are located on the side here. Press this button to automatically slide the seat forward so you can access the back cavity. You'll notice the lightweight bucket seats are actually framed in carbon fiber, as well as that black leather padding coming across. You also have a little modest carpeted parcel shelf in the back, also lined with that Alcantara. And then just press it again, it'll automatically take itself back. They're quite untraditional also. Basically, this one up here controls your sliding and tilting by just pulling it back or tipping it up and down. Then the back one here controls your recline with the same action, up or down. You also have 3-stage heated seats controlled by this little turn dial here. The interior definitely gives off that modern flavor with plenty of aluminum trim, including those beautifully crafted pedals and kick plates down below, but it's also a safe vehicle, a plethora of airbags located around the vehicle, including the standard driver knee airbag. Under that little pocket there, you have your power exterior mirrors, trunk and fuel cap release, traction control located up top with an aluminum bezel. Your reverse is actually located right there, with little rivets and actually accented Alcantara coming around the speedometer cluster. You also have that beautiful carbon fiber lacing across the center of the dash and the aluminum accented vents, finished off with a black Alcantara headliner. And if there isn't already enough high gloss carbon fiber accenting, if you actually look at the top of the dash towards the cowl, you'll actually notice that it's a satin finished carbon fiber trim to actually deter glare away from the interior of the vehicle. So we'll go ahead and see how she sounds. So we're going to shut her up. Beautifully tight door panels. What's nice about the LFA is it's a supercar you can use essentially every day. It features some of the same interior electronics that you find in some of the other contemporary Lexus vehicles, such as the new remote touch navigation multimedia interface. It's basically controlled with this integrated mouse wheel in the center. Nice and easy, where you just lay your hand across it, enter button off to the side, and then just moving it around, watching that little cursor up front. The entire vehicle can be controlled from it, starting with the audio. Features the optional 12-speaker premium Mark Levinson 5.1 discrete channel surround sound system. Dimming rear view mirror, and in the top stack here, a little bit of satin black accenting with your microphone for your Bluetooth hands-free telephone, as well as your LED interior illumination. And since the LFAs are a numbered car, each of them comes with a specific plaque with their number designation. Beautiful about the curvature of the center console is the fact of the accented carbon fiber, and one of the unique cues being 10 5 on each side, matte black finish buttons. Very nice, even and symmetrical. And now while I'll show it a little bit more in depth when I get to the screen portion, all of these buttons around here, except for the hazards up at the top, actually correspond to the climate control system. Dual zone with temperature adjustments on each side, turning off your fan, rear defrost as well as your heated mirrors, front defrost, automatic, and recycling. Pretty straightforward. What's really neat about this remote touch system is it actually gives you a little bit of feedback. For example, if you're on the map here, you're just scrolling around pretty easily. If you go back to the menu, it actually gives you feedback as if you're clicking between different menus. You can kind of see what I mean, instead of a nice smooth motion. But if we head on over to the destination screen, it's where you can put in all of your navigation data. It's of interest. It takes a little while to get used to the system also, but once you do, it's pretty straightforward. Address book, intersections, emergency roadside assistance, as well as inputting favorite destinations. Information, vehicle map data, integrated calendar, as well as your telephone. Integrated dial pad, storing contacts, voice dialing, system setup, general personalizable options, clock, voice guidance and commands, navigation settings, vehicle, maintenance scheduling, as well as phone, audio settings. You can access this in the main radio screen also, and I'll show you that in just a second. Climate control, the different zones up top, fan speed. Basically everything that you can't control from here, you would control in there. So all the temperature you can do out here, as well as the recycling and stuff, but for fan speed and zones, it's all through the infotainment system. It's your main radio screen. Find the song title, all of your different preset stations, type, seeking for traffic updates, access your sound settings down below like I showed you earlier, surround sound, automatic sound leveling, adjusted with the speed of the vehicle, and also up above here you have your different radio modes like you saw, or you would have satellite radio there, CD, DVD input, Bluetooth hands-free audio streaming, auxiliary, iPod, as well as USB integration. Pretty nifty. A lot of those same features also can be found in the little center stack here. As far as radio, AM, FM, disc, and change between auxiliary and USB, and changing your discs, your off-hook and on-hook buttons for the telephone, seek track commands. Map.
Map.
Command list.
Command list.
Cancel.
Cancel. Voice recognition mode has been canceled.
So basically you can kind of go through the system also and see all the commands, so you can kind of become a little bit more familiar with it. Volume and power in the center, and your tune by the dial in the middle. And right in front of the touch center here, you have the basic menu options that you saw earlier. You can adjust your display settings, go straight to the map, as well as that menu that I showed you earlier. Now, down across the middle here, you have your power window switches like you saw at the beginning of the video. You have your lock and unlock located right here. At the speedometer cluster, you have your wiper controls, display brightness, and like I showed you, your driver selectable sport settings. Now, let's say you were in sport mode for a second. To put it back into automatic, just tap that button, automatically switches over. My favorite part of the interior, aside if it didn't get any cooler, like I was telling you about the thin film transistor display, off to the right you have your oil temperature, oil pressure, off to the left, fuel, and vehicle temperature. Now, with that three-dimensional effect provided by that metallic ring in the center, if you look on the steering wheel and see this little toggle arrow switch button here, if you click it off to the right, the whole thing slides over to reveal driver information setup. Amazing design. Even more beautiful whilst in sport mode. You have various controls here pairing with the vehicle's launch control. You can set lap times, you have rev indicators, speed indicators, vehicle status, keeping tabs on various systems of the vehicle, checking the oil level. Nice and convenient, as well as the vehicle's tire pressure. Get the brightness. Other personalizable options for the system. You have your digital clock down below, outside temperature up top. Pretty amazing system. Your turn signal and high beams. Nice slim stalks, as well as your wiper activation. Coming in across the back, you have a little mild storage shelf. Open it up into the trunk. Absolutely incredible. And we're going to shut her down. And we're going to check out the rest of the vehicle, shall we? Pop the trunk. Trunk space, as to be expected, is also quite small. Just enough to fit a couple bags or a couple little everyday items. But it's also illuminated, fully carpeted, and there's a little plexiglass window that actually separates the cabin from the trunk area. Down below there you have your battery as well as first aid kit area, and I'll show that in just a second. And as you can see here, the entire cover of the trunk is also made in carbon fiber in kind of a similar fashion that you find the hood. There's your battery compartment located off to the left, and like I said, your first aid kit located off to the right. What's also pretty neat is many manufacturers offer lifestyle accessories, things like that, apparel as well as luggage, all that kind of sorts. Well, the LFA also comes with those different accessories. Now, for example, these are some of the personalized owner's manual sets that you would get with the LFA, but you also have other different things like these crystal structures of the LFA that you can get as an accessory. Pretty much a really cool and intriguing collection for the automotive enthusiast. And as luxurious as the interior of the LFA is, the passengers also are treated with the same respect. Same power adjustments as well as the heated function on the passenger seat as well as the drivers to definitely create a more enjoyable riding experience for the passenger as well. Pretty modestly sized glove box with several different cubby holes, 12-volt power outlet, as well as your USB and auxiliary iPod integration. For a first attempt supercar, the Lexus LFA is an unbelievably historical vehicle, with an amazing amount of engineering, build quality, features, and the uniqueness all the way down to the F1 sound makes it truly stand out in its class.